been to the set of Arrow, I've been to the set of Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, sat down, talked to Steven and Grant and all those guys at Comic-Con and different places. So yeah, really excited to be here and talk about my favorite shows.
Oh man, well welcome aboard. To get that inside scoop, we want that secret CIA info.
Right, we want to know like, who's the best of them, who's the worst.
Diva on set.
Yeah. And you've been on the Supergirl set, so we have a little bit of all the shows here. But speaking of the shows, our first one is Supergirl.
Yes.
So
yeah.
we've got to talk about James Olsen finally getting a chance to be in the spotlight this season. As well, we don't know yet what his name is going to be, although we all know. We all know what he's going to be.
Yeah, we know.
The audience of the show doesn't know.
He hasn't given himself a name yet.
Right.
But he's got one. Yeah.
He's thinking about it. When he's ready. When he's ready, everyone will know.
Everyone will know, right.
So what do we think about this storyline, guys?
I think it's cool. The Guardian, which as we know as comic book fans, is the character that's been released and been announced that James Olsen is going to become on the show. Spoiler alert. And it's a cool character from the comics. He's got a lot of history of fighting with besides Superman and other of characters in the Superman family. And the look, to me, looks a little bit like, because they did release a picture, looks a little bit like they're going sort of the Diggle look. I actually wondered for a while, if Spartan was really going to become the Guardian, because they are similar. But it gives the character of James Olsen and then of course the actor that plays him a little bit more to do on the show. He was kind of becoming maybe the damsel in distress character, which almost is interesting to have the reversal of that. But yeah, I think it's great, and I'm all for superheroes. The more superheroes you want to put on the show, the happier I'll be.
Well, the other thing about that character development that's really cool is it gives Win, he's kind of becoming the Supergirl's version of Cisco a little bit.
Absolutely.
He's that, or Lucius Fox, whatever. Pick any analogy of the guy who builds the stuff and comes up with the names. And again, with respect to character development, I like the fact that now he's no longer just the coffee guy. He's not the guy running out just to get Starbucks anymore. He's an integral part of the team, and he has a definite useful function now, other than just running errands.
It's interesting you say that, because with the exception of Legends, all four of the other three shows really have that structure.
Exactly.
There's the hero and their team.
Right.
And that started on Arrow and was sort of repeated well with Flash and then again with Supergirl.
Right. So they're all kind of coming in. They're all done by the same. Again, I've said it the first time. I'll say it again. They are crushing it over at the CW. They have a form. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And they're spreading it around. They're sprinkling the method on everything, and I love what's blooming.
What do you think about James's journey, Anais?
Well, I actually wasn't that familiar with the Guardian. I did read up a little bit about him, but I'm excited. I just I wonder if they're gonna make everyone a superhero though.
Right.
That's what I was like. I mean, it's cool for him. I'm happy for him because I know he I guess wanted to feel more useful, I guess, and help people and honor his dad and everything. But I was like, is every character gonna become a superhero? I don't feel like it's necessary.
Exactly. I had that bit of a sort of party pooper mentality also, because I was just thinking especially in our current climate, journalism and good journalism is so important. And in comic books, journalism has always been an important component of superheroes, because that's, they have to get the truth out to the people. They have to, speak to the public so that the public is informed. And now it sort of feels like journalists, in Supergirl, it's oh, I'm not doing enough, even though I'm running a media conglomerate, and I could be doing a lot of good in that way.
And I thought he was doing really well, taking over Catco.
Yeah, I would have liked to see more of that, or alternately, James could have taken Snapper Carr's role. Snapper Carr is great. He's an interesting addition, but you had James already. He could have been Carr's boss.
I thought the exact same thing. It seemed like an unnecessary character, because it's like you had two people trying to step into the same shoes. I'm like, he really isn't needed. What are they going to do with James? And it seemed like they were elevating James, and all of a sudden take a backseat to this gritty guy who kind of reminds me, hey, I'm dating myself, Lou Grant.
He's definitely Lou Grant. I'm dating myself too.
I'm so glad you got that.
Well,
Wait, I'm not dating myself.
But I don't know what's going on.
What's interesting about the Snapper Carr inclusion, I have liked the way that character has gone so far. In the comics, Snapper Carr is sort of the non-superhero mascot of the original Justice League, and was really kind of just a lame
throw away
character.
nothing.
Yeah. I mean, his thing was that he snapped his fingers, right?
Boom.
That's why
And
he's
it's
never
done.
caught. Yeah. He was the first one to know where the Justice League's hideout was and all that, their
comics,
headquarters, stuff like that. So to make him this very, again, dating ourselves, the Lou Grant from the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Oh, okay.
For the millennials.
Watch some Nick at Night
for you
I got
millennials.
Watch some Nick at Night.
But he's the gruff sort of, that kind of
Street kind of no holds barred.
Yeah,
if
but
he had without the New York accent, he's got that New York grit. Sort of.
editor-in-chief, the Perry White,
Yeah.
that sort of stereotype that we've seen in media through the years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we're going to see James grow into a hero role, then it makes sense to have Snapper Carr as because you want to have someone who isn't a hero.
Yeah.
And with Kat gone now,
Right,
you need to
exactly.
have that,
So-
not necessarily antagonist, but
Yeah, Kellum, can you throw that picture that was up there once again? Because I tell you what, I love everything they do with James Olsen. If you could throw that first picture back up, because I want to keep him from ending up on the ground, flat on his butt like that.
Yeah.
Just anything that'll keep my brother off of the ground like that. I'm all for.
But it has been nice, like you were talking about the reversal, of Supergirl being the one that's saving
Right.
James.
Right.
And now he wants to save himself too, but hopefully, we'll
Yeah.
see. He's going to be like backup for Supergirl. He's
well,
gonna
and she's
help.
gonna need some help.
Yeah,
She's gonna need
exactly,
some
exactly.
help. She can't do everything herself.
Right.
As powerful and wonderful as she is, she can't do everything herself.
Speaking of her other backup, Alex Danvers got a great storyline this week. That was probably my favorite part of the episode.
She lost. I wish you could have been there. We were
guys.
watching it together. We were watching it together. She was like, she was losing it. I was having more fun watching you watch Alex and Maggie. It was so insanely fun.
I love it, and not only that, not just because I'm a shipper. I love shipping things, which I do, but I love the way that they're going about Alex's. I don't know if you want to call it awakening or journey, whatever.
Journey's a good word, yeah.
She wasn't aware
Yeah.
that she was interested in women before, and the way that she talked about that final scene where she's talking about how she was always uncomfortable dating, she felt like something was wrong with her, and now she's seeing that it might be something else. Like that, I feel like that speaks to so many people,
Right.
and it felt like it was written by someone who understands
Yes.
that.
I got a
You know?
little emotional,
Yeah.
like when she was talking about that, I was like, oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't really relate because I'm not bi or anything, but I just got emotional. She was so good.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and you can even relate in a different way, even if it's not with your sexuality.
Right.
Because people often feel like they are out of place for some reason, for whatever reason. Just like Maggie herself said, she's a Latina in middle America.
Right.
They don't want her.
Exactly. You can feel odd on a job.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
the thing that was really cool, and relating to it also, being a guy, there was a point there when they were talking in which I said, wow, it's kind of like, for a moment there, Alex is kind of like that guy who is trying to push up on a woman, and she's like, back up, what are you trying to do? And so even from a man's perspective, who, has been rejected several times before I finally found a good woman. But
I'm sure the women who rejected you were fine.
but I know, because it was me. I am like the kid. It's not you. It's not you. It was me. It really was. And,
Well, it's interesting too because I was at the Paley Fest last year when Supergirl had their panel, and they announced that this was happening. They didn't say which character was going to be revealed, but that it was going to be an already, a character already based on the show. It wasn't going to they're going to introduce a new character. And so I think there were really sort of two people that fans gravitated towards, thinking that it's either going to be Wynn or it's going to be Alex.
Yep.
Right.
And I think Wynn was more of the choice that a lot of people thought, it's going to be Wynn.
Right.
And so to make it Alex, I thought was really interesting because it actually puts a different sort of shade on the relationship she has with Kara and Supergirl. And I love Maggie Sawyer.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
not
so
just
I-
the character, and the character's great from the comics and the cartoon as well, but the actress is really
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
a great
Yes, she
job
is.
of making that character part of the show.
Right.
It feels organic.
yeah.
It feels genuine. It feels sincere. Sometimes when the best acting job is when you can't tell they're acting.
Right.
And when you get emotional like you do watching a performance by somebody, you really kind of go, they're really in touch with the work that they're doing and the subject matter that they're dealing with. Yeah. Very
I mean,
cool.
yeah, I think Kyler Lee is the strongest actor on Supergirl right now.
Well, that's
I just think
interesting.
that she's just really, because she's really grounding, and also the material that she gets is the most grounding.
Yeah.
See, I go with
honestly.
Harwood.
He
Yeah.
doesn't get as much, I guess.
He
But
doesn't,
yeah. But yes, he is
I
also a
think he's
very
the
strong
strongest
actor. That's
actor,
true.
yeah.
I think combination of what the material they're giving her and then the job that she's doing really whatever, propels the show forward. Speaking of Harwood,
absolutely.
speaking of Harwood,
Yeah.
he
Let's
did
talk
not
about
get to
him.
be in this episode
Yeah, I can
because
see why they're-
apparently there can only be one black man at a time.
Wait, you know, he actually was. After that first battle, remember, after the first
Oh,
battle.
did he show up?
Yeah,
Did he show up?
He was in a scene.
He was in a scene.
scene.
Yeah, he kind of
He
walked in and
walked
said, you know, getting my paycheck.
Exactly. I'm glad they gave him his paycheck.
You know, but yeah, he
That's
showed
what
up
he's
for
here
one
for.
scene. After Supergirl's first encounter with the guys with the weapons, and he went to the DEO, he was like, "Hi, I'm still here. Gotta go." And then he's gone.
Okay, well, I'm glad he got that. I'm glad he
But
got
you
that.
know, he's had, especially with the Megan McGann episode the
Right.
week
He-
before,
yeah, he had a
and
great
he's had a
scene,
lot
yeah.
coming up, and we know, I don't know, we're talking about things that are happening in the future, but Hank Hemshaw, Cyborg Superman.
Oh,
is
you
gonna
think that's
be
still coming?
introduced.
Yeah.
Cyborg Superman?
I think it's actually been announced
Yeah.
that Cyborg
Yeah, Cyborg
Superman is
Superman,
coming,
yeah.
and so the guess
I thought
would
it was
be
coming like
that he'll get
not
to
through him.
play a little bit more. Well,
But it
yeah,
makes sense because Hank
possibly.
Henshaw,
Right.
because even if it's the real Hank Henshaw,
Right.
it would still be David Harewood. I see
Right.
what you're
Right.
saying.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, and putting on
I
producer hat for a
understand.
He'll
minute.
get to play three characters
Exactly.
in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, putting on producer hat for a minute, you know, a lot of shows, Walking Dead, you'll watch an episode and there'll just be a handful because why do we have to pay these guys? We're just looking at you guys over here. So, you know, he's going to be in, and then, yeah, the cyber, too much going on.
It's
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
But back to this episode.
Yes, back to this one.
Mon-El.
Mon-El.
Yep. Mon-El.
Oh, my God.
Gotta talk about.
First of all, this was the episode that could have been Neighbors 3 because it really was. You know, like Zac Efron and Mon-El, Mike making
Mike
the rounds.
Matthews.
Neighbors 3, who's it going to be? It was such a funny episode. And again, a little bit throwback, watch Nick at Night. It reminded me a little bit of Mork and Mindy or Perfect Strangers. You know,
okay.
that person, or for those of you that don't know that, the Little Mermaid learning from Flounder about the little idols and calling them all wrong things. That was amazing. I love that fish out of water that has this confidence that thinks she knows, you
Yeah.
know? That was really cool. Those two were like, I want to see those guys on a road trip movie. Like, you know,
Right.
instead of Tommy, it should be like Mon-El Boy and have him go on the road with Wen and watch them cross the country like, you know, fish out of water. It was
Yeah.
a great
and then poor,
thing they're doing.
poor Kara being so frustrated with him.
Well, and Melissa's great in
Yes.
those scenes. Like that's where, like she's a really good comedian.
Yes.
So those comedic moments with her are really awesome to see Melissa do that. And we'll see where Mon-El goes. I'm not quite on the Mon-El.
Yeah, he's a little bit like, he's just like a
train
huge
yet.
frat boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Especially because I feel like they want us to want Kara with him, and I'm like, I don't like. After he was like trying to have sex with that chick on the first day of work, I was like,
Miss Tessmacher.
Miss
He was having
Tessmacher.
sex with Miss Tessmacher.
Oh my gosh! Gives a whole new meaning to that first Superman one. Miss Tessmacher!
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah.
I mean, it was a whole different reason to call out Miss Tessmacher's name.
For those that don't know, Miss Tessmacher, the character is now Jimmy's secretary on
Right.
the show, or assistant on the show.
Right, and from the original Superman
is
movie,
Valerie Perrine, which was Lex Luthor's
henchwoman, sidekick, whatever, yeah.
essentially, in the original movie.
now, do you think that's just a shout out, or were they going to connect her to Lena somehow?
I think it's began as a shout out. I don't necessarily know that they
They
have
don't-
anything else
right.
going towards it, but it's there.
If they want to pull
Exactly.
on it.
Yeah.
That makes
And it's neat to see there because again, you know me, I love when I can when I notice those things that throwbacks to the original source material or other things, incarnations that came before. So the moment that her name was said, I was like, ooh, squirrel.
Yeah.
It was such a good thing to hear Miss Tessmacher. And here he is on the copy machine. Was he on the copy machine?
I think so.
something
Oh,
yeah,
my
or like
gosh,
these
that was
Xerox.
insane.
I
Storage
thought-
closet.
Like
Absolutely.
Melissa's Kara's reaction
Yeah,
was
she
so amazing. Like,
What are you doing?
So
Well,
good.
I know what you're doing.
She's really funny and she's really natural and really good at reacting. Yeah.
Really great. And his isms. I mean, that rectangle, square, rectangle,
the plastic rectangle.
thing for buying stuff. And what did he call red vines? Like red tubes or something?
Oh,
it was like,
yeah.
he had his
Like
crazy
short,
little
yeah.
isms. They
It
were
was
great.
Red Vines, not Twizzlers, right?
Yes, it was.
Red Vines
Red
are
Vines, definitely Red
the real
Vines.
thing.
Right.
Red Vines are superior.
By the
Mon-El
way,
said so.
by the way, here's what I want. Hashtag bribery coffee.
Bribery coffee, that's right.
Sorry, I don't have any bribery coffee for you.
So, it's like obviously he recognizes things from Daxam, you know, like some things work the same, and then some things
Right.
clearly don't, like having sex on the first day of work. Like he's like, that's just what you do when
At
you're
work.
at work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm getting paid to sleep with this woman, obviously.
When he
And that
was
stuff is
talking
fun.
about like, oh well, on Daxam, if a woman wants to please a man, she's like, no.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I mean, I think he'll be great for comic relief for a while, but I'm interested in seeing how the character really grows
Yeah.
throughout the show and becomes heroic and becomes the Mon-El that we know from the comics. It'll be interesting. But I'm a little like, get to it. Come on. Let's get there already.
Yeah, it's back to that team building we're talking about. And I think that since these other shows, like we talked about, Arrow had his first, Flash has his second, and this season now they're introducing a whole lot of new elements into Supergirl now on the CW.
Right.
But I'm with you. Like, let's, don't take too long.
Right.
Let's not, don't. I don't want this to be a slow burn. Let's
Right.
get to it.
And I'm not interested in a Kara Mon-El relationship.
Oh, me
at
neither.
all.
Me neither.
Like, not interested. I don't
And I
need
felt
that.
kind of a brother and sister sort
I
of
hope
vibe.
so.
And I
She's
hope they
dressing
keep
him
it
up
there.
like her cousin.
Right.
Right.
And she's talking to him like, I'm going to fulfill the destiny I should have had with Clark.
Exactly.
With you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
if we're going to talk about things that feel like two brother and sister.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely,
Mon-El.
absolutely. So, yeah, I don't want them to go down.
I feel like that's what they're trying to do, like the relationship, but I feel like it's not really necessary or.
Yeah, I hope they don't go there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so what else? Okay, so now we get to,
The other.
do we want to get there? Do we want to go there? Do we want to go to Mama Luthor?
Yeah,
yes.
Well, I was gonna say, the other major female relationship
yeah.
on Supergirl right now. That's what should be happening. Kara and Lena.
Oh, interesting.
I'm just saying, like,
really?
Lena comes in like, platonic friend. Let's. You're my only friend. Let's hang
That
out.
would definitely give Clark something to do.
Oh, because I'm a woman. Oh, it's your sister?
It's your sister.
Okay, I like that. I like your sister. Anyway, but yes, Lena. We've been suspecting her for weeks now, right? Thinking like maybe she's got a different agenda. And I feel like this episode proved that she's kind of a hero in her own right. We would hope. But her mom, not so much.
No.
Lillian Luthors.
Yes.
Her
Yeah.
mom's name. We were like trying to figure out what her mom's name was. I didn't know what it was on the show.
But was
so-
was that revealed on the show?
It's on. I
It's-
looked it up on.
Okay.
Right, so I guess it's a
it's the mom
spoiler.
from the comic book.
Yeah, mom,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, okay.
On the show, we were wondering like,
What's
is
her name?
she even the bio mom or the adopted mom?
We
like
don't
which
know.
one?
Well, I don't
But
think we don't know
Yeah,
yet,
we
right.
don't know on the show. But
Right.
then she looked it up and now we know. Anais knows.
Because I was thinking too. Yeah, I was like, is it the biological mom or the adoptive mom? But yeah.
So I guess we're gonna have like a big bad Luthor
Yeah.
for Lena to fight against.
And did you get that kind of Amanda Wyler sort of vibe from her?
Oh,
It
she's
really-
totally
bit.
she's totally
Yeah,
a white
it felt like
Amanda Waller.
It felt like Amanda Wyler. Yeah, it really did. And like instead of Task Force X, it's the Cadmus, and they took the two things and gave one over here and one over there. But I got to tell you though, in all of this is going on, it still made me raise a red flag about Lena Luthor because I kind of questioned it. Well, actually, I didn't question it. David, who does some of our after show things, he actually said he couldn't be here today, but he actually said, I wonder if that was like a test of a weapon for Mom.
Oh, I guess it's possible. Yeah.
Was it a test for a weapon for Mom, or was it really, I have this in place just to take out these bad guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
It's really interesting.
I don't think we quite know where it's going yet.
Exactly.
The end of the episode definitely made the audience feel that Lena doesn't have anything to do with this, and
Right.
that we're just revealing Mom is Cadmus.
Right.
And that makes some sense. It's a twist on the expectations that Lena Luthor is going to be evil and it's Mom, but I don't think it excludes Lena
Right,
from
and of course you could always
Exactly.
go
anything
down a
in the
dark
future.
path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So we
there is that
don't know.
Luther
We don't
stigma.
know.
There is that
That
Luther
Luther
bias.
thing is always gonna be
yeah,
there.
it's
But
gonna-
her working with Wynn to like undo that bomb did show
Absolutely.
part of what Wynn had said earlier, which is that you can use your brain to save the day too. You don't have to just have brawn. You don't just have to have powers.
It's true.
So even though he still decided that he was going to help James did not learn that lesson. But,
Right.
but Wynn proved that it is true with Lena.
The only thing I was thinking is, like at the party, I was like, okay, the Luthors are very intelligent, and Lena hung out with Kara and Supergirl for 2 days, she saw both of them 2 days in a row, and like you still can't figure out.
Well,
Yeah, so I actually,
always-
my answer to that is that you have to, in watching these shows and as a fan of
accept.
superheroes, that's
Yeah, you gotta
Listen.
just disbelief right there. You have
just,
to.
this is a world where glasses.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Jamie, where'd you
Oh
go?
my God.
Jamie,
Oh my
where'd you
God,
go?
he's
Who are you?
Well,
Oh,
right
he's
here.
back.
I'm right here,
Oh
Phil.
man, thank
I'm
goodness.
so
I was about to
scared.
call security.
I'm so scared.
And I think we just have to accept that this is a world where glasses
Yes.
make
I'm
you
gonna
a
try that
completely
out in
different
real
person.
life. See, like,
Trust me,
I'll
it
put
doesn't.
it, and my family's not gonna recognize me, and I'll be like, "Who's this girl? Like, you have glasses." So I'm
Listen,
gonna try it, see if it works.
Hey,
you know?
listen, I have tried. I've, high school T-shirts all the time. Go to church, wear a suit, put on my glasses, and people are like, "Hey, Phil." I'm like, "Oh, so you still know it's me?"
Right.
So it doesn't work.
Right. But in this world, we're going to
Yeah, we got to
suspend
disbelief. Yeah.
disbelief, and as smart as Lena is. I can believe for now that she's not going to put two and two
Right.
together. But at some point they could play with that, and maybe they do
Right.
figure
And
it out.
they'll have
'Cause
to do,
Lex
like,
certainly
other
knows
fun.
who
Right.
Clark is.
Yeah.
John can show up again to be Kara.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if that was
Yeah,
going to
I
maybe
thought
happen in
that's
this
how he-
episode.
yeah, but-
I thought that's how they were going to
Yeah.
do the party. Yeah.
But I like the fact that again it was that throwback to again some encounters that Superman had to deal with. Not necessarily the best movie, but in Superman 3, when he had to, or even Superman 1, when Superman is talking with Lois on the balcony, and when she walks from the balcony to the door, Clark is there, and to me that was a nice little tip of the cat nod
Right.
to
Yeah.
the original Superman sort of lore, and I loved it, absolutely loved it.
Well, the only thing left for Supergirl, I think, is next week, right?
Yeah.
Next week, yeah.
Is it
Yes.
that monster, we've got an infection going on. The monster, is it Parasite? Is
I
that
think
what
so.
it
Yeah,
is?
so do
Yeah.
I don't know who it is if it's not Parasite.
Now, last time Parasite was seen
Yeah.
on the small screen, I guess, was on the Superman animated series with
Okay.
Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. It was a guy, and for those of you who don't know, he has the power. If he touches something, he absorbs your energy and
Strength.
takes it on. Which why he's a formidable villain for somebody like Supergirl, because if he touches her, he becomes
get the superhero energy.
superpowers.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like and again, the two worlds coming together, almost like Rogue and the X-Men.
Right.
So that's
She's
why
gonna
it's
have to
such
fight
a
with her rays. Like this,
exactly.
right? Her laser
Very
eyes.
formidable villain.
Did you notice the actor that's going to be playing that character next
He
week?
looks so familiar to me.
Okay,
but who is
he
it?
played Ethan on Lost, and he's Tom
Oh.
Cruise's cousin in real life.
That's
wow.
why I was
Okay.
like, I know that
I
dude.
forget the actor's name.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we
Is it
can
Thomas
look it up.
Yeah.
Mopheather?
You got the right map.
Yeah, like a
map
weird
something.
last name.
Yeah, you got it.
You
Pop secret popcorn. That's who it is.
Pothier or something like that.
Yeah.
You're on it. You're
Hey,
on
listen,
it.
somebody out there, tell us in
Yeah,
the chat.
let us know who
Let us
that
know who
actor
that is, and then she
Yeah.
can just Denise can take a look at it and let us know.
But so let us know your thoughts in the chat, or you can hashtag DCTVU, and we can look that up and respond to you either through the week or later on in the show.
Yeah.
But for now, we don't have any Flash.
No,
I'm
no
representing
Flash.
with my shirt.
That's
I got
right.
Iris West on me, and we've got.
Well, a little bit of something. Since we don't have any Flash this week, you know what? You guys out there have been awesome to fill that void. So take a look at some Flash
Hi, babies.
artwork that was brought in and sent to us by you guys. Awesome work. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, it is. All right, it's time to get started with Arrow. You know, Arrow, I said this before, I kind of walked away from Arrow a little bit because it kind of lost its way around the third season, but I'm officially an Arrowhead. And I got to tell you, this one was great. What do we think about, first of all, Dolph Lundgren? Stepping up in here. For those of you who don't know, Dolph Lundgren, he was playing, what was the gentleman's name? I don't have it here in front of me. Konstantin Kovar.
Right, he's Kovar.
Konstantin Kovar. And for those of you who don't remember, Konstantin Kovar was also, Dolph Lundgren. He played the Drago in the Rocky IV movie. His classic line, I must break you. I mean,
Let's not forget, he was also He-Man.
He-Man. Oh, yes, he
wow.
was.
And
the
the
Masters
Punisher.
of the Universe.
He was the
Punisher. The
Punisher.
first
The
one.
first
That's right.
Punisher, absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's still
was the
looking
first
good. Yeah,
Punisher.
so he's like on Marvel, DC, and just crazy wacko Masters of the Universe movie. That first one.
That's
yeah.
right.
So he's back. He still has that chin. I mean, he's still like, if you punch that chin, you would break your hand. But it was great seeing him in the episode, to seeing him back in the flashback, and now the team is going to a whole different place here. Prometheus. On the run, causing all kinds of problems, all kinds of problems with the team, and we're dealing with the team not knowing about the list.
Right.
This became the episode about that list. The list we saw from season 1, the list of names that Oliver had written down of people he wanted to kill, and now somehow the list is in the hands of Prometheus, and it's making the rounds. What do you think about the resurgence of the list coming up again in this episode?
Well, I thought it was a great callback to season 1, and we know that season 5 is really about paying tribute to what's come before on Arrow and what they want to do in the future. So I thought it was great to kind of tie all of that together, all the seasons, with something. And you know, this Oliver that the new recruits have met is not the Oliver that we met at the beginning of the series 5 years ago. And the fact that they have the flashback component to the show that will end at the end of the season. It was always meant to just be the first 5-season component. It's really tying it all together, and I think it's really interesting. So it was interesting to see how those other characters reacted, and also to see the way Diggle and Felicity sort of, you know, they almost like made excuses for Oliver's past behavior.
That's true.
And I thought that was an interesting dynamic, really to see the way Evelyn, the character of Evelyn, really felt that.
Well, the other thing I thought was interesting is the team seemed to be getting to a point where first they were mad at Oliver. I said it before, he was grumpy old Oliver. And then he seemed to like come around, and I loved last episode. He treated the team with a little respect. And then it was from the team's standpoint, I feel like, okay, you cheated on me, but I took you back, and oh, you got another secret. You know, that's exactly what it felt like to me, because for the most of the team was like, oh, this too, you know. So now I'm kind of concerned about the dynamic and the trust level that the team now has. They went out there, they did their thing, which we'll talk about later. But you know, what do you think about the dynamic now? With there's only one person who's kind of the new team that's kind of okay. But the rest of the team, how do you think that's going to affect them and moving forward with Oliver?
I think Oliver just needs to be honest, like just let them know everything, just actually trust your team, because why do you have this team if you're not going to trust them? You know?
That's a lesson he should have learned last season.
Right.
But we're still working towards that, I guess.
There's so much, and there's been so many secrets. I mean, that's really what Oliver runs in. He runs in these world of shadows, you know, and so. I don't know, to reveal to this new team, I mean, hey, let me catch you up on the last 4 years. So that's kind of, it's going to come. It's going to come slowly.
I think the kill list specifically isn't something that he needed to have revealed to them. But informing them of what the enemies are and what they're after when it's happening, it's important. Because I think we always know the enemies are one step ahead of you. So you keeping information from your loved ones or the people that are working with you is not going to stop the enemies from hurting them. Like there's no reason to do it. And we've learned that in season 1 of every show. Right?
It's true.
Like season 1 of The Flash, they're like, we can't tell Iris to protect her, even though that's literally why she's in danger, because we didn't tell her. And because the man who killed my mother is literally my boss. But I'm not going to tell Iris that. So like, why would you ever do that? So hopefully from now on, we stop doing that.
Well, I mean, I think Oliver's learning his lesson, but you know, he's got a lot of lessons to learn, so it's going to take some time.
Did anybody else get this? Aside from just being told that there was a secret kill list, the thing that really made me go wow in watching the team react was not just you have this list and you've been doing these murders, but they remember this bad guy from season 1, the Hood, and it was like, you know, Oliver, you know, we got problems with you, and you yell at us, and you beat us up for no reason, but at least you're not the Hood. You are?
You are the Hood.
So that was interesting to me, because I thought that was a given. Maybe it's just because I'm the audience member that I get, but I thought
like,
that was a given.
The Hood is the
that
Arrow,
the Hood was the Arrow, was the Green Arrow. Like, I thought we all knew that.
Yeah, they seemed like they didn't.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
It was an interesting direction to go
I guess that's
in.
more of the suspension of disbelief situation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's that thing of you wanting to believe that you're working for the good guy, and this other person who was in the news 3 years ago, and before they all started their own little path into vigilantism, that was the guy that was perceived as a bad guy. You know, it's almost like finding out, you know, that the Joker is now Batman. You know, and the reaction was interesting to me. So now, a lot of people have been asking about the reporter.
Oh,
the reporter,
Susan Williams.
Susan Williams, yes, Susan Williams.
Yeah, what do we think about that relationship and her specifically? Anais, do you have thoughts?
I'm not that into her right now. I hope they don't try to hook up her and Oliver. Like, why? I don't like see any purpose.
She wants it.
I was just as annoyed as Oliver because everyone kept calling her his girlfriend. I was like, stop it. And he was telling her, you know, people stop calling her my girlfriend. I'm like, yes, please, why?
From the very beginning, she's been introduced as having an agenda against him, it seems.
So but also, she doesn't really want Oliver. She wants Christopher Chance.
Right.
Right? Because the Oliver that she started to like last week
Right.
was Christopher Chandler.
Yeah, but she
pretending to be
said like
Oliver.
it was
that was
me,
the
it
way
was
they
you,
made. Yeah,
it was
exactly.
you.
Exactly. they tried to comb
Yeah.
over that.
But
Yeah.
even if whether she wants to bone him or not, she also wants to bury him. It seems, or she would do it given the first opportunity, right?
Right.
So I don't know.
See, I don't really want them to hook up. I don't want anything going on between them. I think she is an interesting character to have because of she's essentially going to be, it looks like, what ties the flashbacks into what's happening in present
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
And,
Yes, yes.
and
So
I do
that's a
love that.
great
Yeah.
movement for that character and for the plot of the show. But as far as them actually becoming a relationship or doing stuff like that, unless it's something that's over a couple of episodes where it's Mayor Oliver Queen and it's really separate from Arrow. But I don't want her to like be in the Arrow cave
Right,
and start to
definitely
learn,
not,
to,
definitely
know who Diggle
We don't
is
need
and Felicity.
we don't need
No,
everyone
no,
to be
no.
in the team.
Alfred,
Like,
who brought her into the Batcave?
And also, it takes away time from what we like on the show, which is Arrow and his team and
Yeah.
those characters. And even, with Felicity and him no longer being together and Felicity dating the police officer, they're still a team. They're still
Right.
tied
Right.
together. There's still some kind of hope, maybe, for fans, for shippers of
No, I'm
Felicity
not
and
a
Oliver.
shipper of that one.
But,
Okay, but I
but
mean, we know it's going to happen.
I don't
again.
think
we know
that
they're
that
going to get back to
boyfriend
it.
really
Yeah.
destroys
Yeah.
anything. I think doesn't matter. But to have Oliver get into a relationship, I think would be a big,
It's just
twist
an
to the-
unnecessary detour because
Right.
we
Couldn't
know
put
it's
it
not
better
leading to
myself.
anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well-
I like their banter right now. Like that's fun, and you can keep that, especially because it's like she's like flirting with him, but maybe working against him. I love what you said about the flashbacks though, because this is the first season in a while, since maybe like season 2, that the flashbacks really feel tied
Right.
to the story.
They
Since
feel-
season 2, it does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now
so-
speaking of Felicity and her boyfriend detective,
What's his name again?
his name is I have it on here on my thing, Man Detective Dude.
Man Detective.
Billy Malone? Bobby
Billy
Malone?
Malone.
Billy Malone.
Billy
Is
Is that
There we go.
right?
That's
I just
right.
made that up.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
right?
I'm pretty sure Malone is the last
Malone-
name.
Malone is the last name.
Well-
But do you know who the actor's father is in real life?
Whoa.
Carl Malone.
No.
No. I was going with the big nose. Don't leave home without it.
That's John Ritter's son.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
He's a Ritter.
Gosh. Awesome.
He was
Very good. Very good job. He's
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah. I mean, it's a thankless part, and there isn't anything for him really to do yet. Unless he
he's
is
hiding
Prometheus.
something.
Hiding
Yeah,
something,
unless
right.
he's at the very least he might be hiding something
Yeah, well,
because he was a little too like accepting of Felicity being Felicity working
Yeah.
with Arrow. He was like, "Oh, you do? I should be mad about that, but really, I'm excited."
Well, and Adrian Chase was the same way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so we have them both there as possible Prometheuses, or although I think we know Adrian Chase is going to be something else. But
Well, it's just like, Felicity, once we found out through the anagram to Red Tornado, and Felicity came up with the anagram, got the list, and then Felicity went and stole the evidence of the arrow. They're calling me the throwing star.
throwing stars.
The throwing star killer.
Right.
And she actually went and stole the arrow off as evidence.
The
on,
throwing star
Yeah,
from
on his
Billy
desk.
Malone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Billy
yeah.
Malone had a throwing star on his desk, and she went and took it. And when she finally, Felicity could do a little more investigating, and when she told him that, again, like you said, it was a little too, okay, you're looking for Arrow, you stole police evidence off my desk, give me some sugar. Bring it over here, bring
did she give the evidence back to?
I hope she did.
I hope we never saw
I don't think
it.
we saw it happen.
Yeah,
but
So
we-
that's
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
leading into
Right.
maybe the next thing we
Yes.
talk about.
Right.
we've got a lot of possibilities going on because
Right.
what we learned this episode is that Prometheus has to have a connection to the Star City Police Department.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we see Quentin Lance.
With the- oh,
yeah.
Quentin
Has a
Lance.
connection
Who has
to
a
the
connection to
Oh,
Star
he's
City
got-
Police
yes,
Department?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And,
drinking in his alone in his apartment or whatever. This is his house, and he's got the freaking throwing star.
Throwing star there.
Yeah.
Well,
But
like
he
next to him.
seems as surprised
Yeah.
at seeing the throwing star
Right.
as we, the audience,
Right,
were.
exactly. There's a shot of him at the end. He got cut in that fight, which I
Right.
thought was great, by the way. The fight on the subway train and the old the extraction. Arrow's about the cool extractions. You remember
Yeah,
the
the
extraction was great. great.
Extraction was great. Remember the other one was the Dark Knight sort of one with digital extraction? This one, parachute out the hole of the subway.
awesome.
That was really cool.
As a hardcore Green Arrow fan, going back to the early 1980s
He
as
is.
a child, that's
Boom.
my
wow.
favorite
For somebody who's like Green Arrow
of all time.
right there.
I own every piece of Green Arrow merchandise that there is.
Dang.
And there wasn't a lot before 4 years ago.
True.
But what's interesting, which was great for me, which was the OMG moment for me in this episode, was the parachute arrow.
Yeah.
He used the parachute,
parachute arrow.
He has trick arrows,
Yes, he
not
does.
just deadly arrows.
Right, so
in
we
there,
haven't
so
seen
that
as
was
many
great.
of those.
Not
Yeah,
as many. We've
so
seen a
it's great.
couple. We started to see a couple this season of the trick arrows, but this was the first, like,
the use of the parachute
any
arrow, right.
Green Arrow fan knows about the parachute arrow and
The boxing glove arrow.
I
Exactly.
mean, like, fight choreography, stunts, everything has been really great this season. So Arrow's really stepping it up in that regard.
Absolutely.
Anais, I just want to know, it's kind of sexist of me to ask, but, like, do you ship Olicity? And what do you think is going on with the dynamic there? Like, because like they sort of talked about it being a thankless job, but what do you think about her and her boyfriend?
I'm not really like a shipper, but I think, I mean, they were good, but I'm okay if they're not together.
Right, and
basically.
that's how I feel. Like I wasn't a shipper of them, but I think that when they were together and happy, like it was easier to move the plot forward because you don't have to focus on angst, right? And they worked well together, and now they're working well together separately. So I'm good either way. I just hope that if the boyfriend is Prometheus, which do we think Billy Malone's Prometheus?
I don't know.
How
Again, going
likely?
back to that shot.
Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm still holding on to the Tommy.
You want it to be Tommy Merlin?
I'm still holding on.
One
to
thing
Tommy
I really
Merlin.
liked about the episode, I don't know if you were gonna talk about it, was well, it's been kind of going on the last few episodes, was Thea and Quentin.
Oh, that's like
their
father-daughter
relationship.
dynamic.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting
much,
because
yeah.
you're talking about a guy who lost his daughters. Essentially, Sarah's still alive,
Right.
but she's
Right.
traveling through time.
Right.
And then a girl who essentially lost both of her fathers.
Yeah.
One died, and one became an evil
Evil
maniac.
bad. Evil bad guy, yeah.
Yeah, she's basically. I mean, she is an orphan.
She's
pretty
kind of
much-
an orphan, yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
and she barely has a brother because they're brothers.
Exactly.
So yeah, it makes sense that they're finding family in each other. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
so true.
So it ended with the old war on two fronts
Yeah,
sort of thing.
that's what the promo looks like. I don't now. What are the two fronts that we're talking about here? It's like we've got Prometheus.
Got Prometheus.
And then is it because he's sort of like framing the arrow
Well, that's
making like other people
That's
not
the-
trust?
That's the thing. Is it a frame-up job? Is it because the thing that really got me was there's a shot. I think we have it here. There's a shot where he's looking. His arm is cut. He's sitting down. He's got the star in his hand.
Right.
And when you look at his face, right there. When you look at his face, I can't read it. I
Right.
can't quite tell. Is that face saying, "Oh my gosh"? How did they get this to me? They must know something. Or is it, what is this and why do I have it?
Right.
You really can't tell, which again, kudos to the people doing the show.
Well, Paul's a really good actor,
Yeah.
so obviously they wanted to keep that
Exactly.
undercover
And
and, keep it
purposefully and
aloof. Yeah,
and he did it. Yeah, you know.
They wanted to keep it vague. Yeah, and it did. I mean, I personally took it as this is the first time I'm seeing this. What is
Really?
going
me
on?
too.
What do you think? First time?
Yeah.
First time?
Yeah, I think it's the first time. I think
time?
we're gonna be led to believe that it's not for a period of time, but we're gonna learn that
Yeah.
it's the first time.
I'm leaning first time too. I'm thinking he may be set up to be the fall guy, or at least a diversion.
Right. Exactly.
You know, he's the,
And they left it vague enough that if they decide that he is the guy later on,
could still
it
work.
wouldn't change it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wouldn't
hey.
And then his alcoholism could
Yeah.
come into play in that way too. You know,
Exactly. Yeah,
and he
watch it.
blacks
What do you-
out or something.
Yeah, what do you think? I want to know if you wonder if he's really, if he knows about it, or was he totally in the dark about it? Chat it up here, because I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, we want to know what
Oh,
you
somebody
think.
said Hal Grayson said Green Arrow belongs with Black Canary.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Green Arrow
I
is
agree with
currently
that.
with Black Canary in the Rebirth comics, and it's amazeballs. So if you guys haven't been reading it, go find it now. Benjamin Percy is awesome
I
at
agree.
writing.
I agree.
He is a writer.
I agree with all of that.
Thank you. Okay. So I guess it's time to head on over to Legends, right?
Yeah,
Legends.
To travel
Legends.
through
And
time.
right before we head out of here, we love memes. They're crazy, and we love you guys because you're crazy enough to make them. So check out some of these memes, and we'll be back in a sec. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's time to talk about LOT, Legends of
LOT.
Tomorrow. I got a lot to talk about with this one. Yeah, no, it's a bad pun. But listen, I really do love this show. Legends of Tomorrow, it was very interesting. It was 80s, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember the 80s, the big shoulder pads. When the episode was on, I almost wanted to break into a little Rhythm Nation, you know?
They had a great sort of Miami Vice-esque opening that on Damien Dark as Miami Vice style dress.
Exactly, man. Talk about setting the tone. There's the opening shot. You nailed it. Damien Dark and of course, Reverse Flash up in there. Thawne is in there. And look at this. Boom.
Yeah. I don't remember the 80s, but I remember the nostalgia.
Let me tell you something. All we need to do is make Thawne black and you got Miami Vice. That's cracking in tubs without the perm. And the jacket, the shirt with no collar and the white oh man, it was straight there. The music, when I heard Danger Zone,
that shot with the team walking in. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
That was beautiful.
They did a really good job of setting the tone of that era with the music and with the clothes.
With the clothes?
Yeah, it was great.
And Vixen worrying about the shoulder pads?
Yes.
And then Nick reacting, he's like, oh, I hate. What's it? I hate this music.
the 80s.
Yeah, I hate
Yes. Was it Died in Your Arms Tonight was a song, I think. And he slammed it. I personally, listen, I lived through the 80s. There was lots about the 80s I loved, but people who know me know that I refer to them as the ugly 80s. Because there's so much about it. So much was so right. And so much was so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, look, from the 80s came my old hairstyle, the high top fade, which... Why? But we did it. It was oh my gosh. But so the episode. So there's this unholy alliance. With Thawne and Dark. That was kind of neat to see.
Yeah, as unholy as it is, I'm so glad we got back to it.
Yes.
Because I've been waiting to see where they're going with it since like episode 2 or whenever it was last time that we really got a chance to see them.
Right.
So yeah, and it was fun to see Thawne talking about he's like, well, first Dark is like, oh, I haven't seen you in like 40 years or something, and Thawne's like, for you maybe.
Yeah,
but
for me it was like
10
yesterday. Exactly. That was very cool. So we get into the whole mission, and they're going into the 80s. Ronald Ray, we had to visit the White House.
Yep.
Which was kind of interesting. Before they even started off, though, I got to ask you, is anybody like me? Are you do you want them to hurry up and find something for Ray to really do? Because it seemed like they were talking, it ended last time like, hey, you can be my new Captain Cold. But there was that moment later on, I don't want to get ahead of the story here, where he says, I'm Colonel Cold. He goes, you can't promote yourself. But it seems like it started out, this is the role he's going to step into. They have that mission at the White House. Doesn't go exactly right. And Mick
really
gets kind of upset with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about this? Like, we're still dealing with Ray trying to find his way. That was not done on purpose.
I did enjoy last episode and this one where he's like really first of all he's like so dorky with like apple slices and then when Mick's like stop trying to be like Leonard, so I like kind of just seeing him try to like be
I think it's good character work because I think that a lot of times Ray has spent like molding himself to be something else or to be, live up to some other expectation.
But I feel like I think by the time the crossover episode happens, he'll already have found his.
I think he's going to
happen soon. I think
he's going to be the Atom by the crossover episodes again.
I mean, he's going to remake that suit or something.
Right. Something's going to happen. But what's interesting to me is, and one of the great things for me about Legends of Tomorrow is that obviously growing up with DC Comics and knowing all these characters, I know all these characters.
Right.
But then to see actors portraying these characters and then the different relationships. And that was really the great thing about season 1 for me is the different relationships that come out that are unexpected as a comic fan that come out of the actors playing these characters.
Right.
And one of those was this, obviously Dominic Purcell and Wentworth Miller have this great thing going from Prison Break that they brought over to the show. But almost, I mean, you can see it in that first episode when he calls him Haircut, that there was something with Brandon and
Nick,
and Dominic.
chemistry.
So with the two, and I really love that they're exploring that in the absence of Snart and exploring. He's not going to be the new Captain Cold,
of course.
but it's interesting to really see this relationship between what was a psychopathic arsonist who's now becoming a little bit more heroic, and this straight-laced sort of I want to be a hero guy who's now kind of seeing the other side. It's a really unique and interesting, I think, relationship between those two characters. That's fun to watch.
Yes, two people who should not be friends, and yet, and interestingly enough, it was the guy who's the more hulkish one to kind of extended the olive branch.
Yeah.
You know, it was really Mick who said, "All right, hey, how about here's the gun?" And you know, not the guy who's straight lacing. You're gonna get a lot of
Dominic
impressions out of
Purcell
me.
is so good.
He's,
Yes.
oh,
I mean,
gosh.
he's taken a character from the comic books that was like a nothing character. I mean, literally like a fifth-tier villain.
Yeah.
And made him one of the premier characters in this new universe.
It's in the personality because basically you take the gun away, and in the comic world, you have basically nobody. The guy that Ray is complaining about being. You take away my suit, I'm nothing. You know, but actually you have an actor who's taken a role that really was nothing and has made it something solid.
I think my favorite bit was him just sort of like eating that. Was it an eclair? He's just
Oh,
eating.
yeah, and he's this is
while
gonna be the last.
like they're literally about to die.
Yeah.
And he could have also just gone up and gone with everyone else, but he's like, well, if you're gonna die failing at doing this, I'm gonna sit here with you and eat an eclair.
And they've been working on that relationship all along. I mean, with the Russia stuff in the season one, and you know, they've been really building that arc.
Yeah.
Now getting into it, they're in the White House, and then I guess the next point was Martin seeing Martin once again. We saw Martin.
Return of the Martins.
The return of the Martins.
Young Martin.
I'm sorry, wrong Martin. But it's the return of the Martins once again.
So I could have done without the return of young Martin Stein.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those things where, and this happens a lot in production and television, you cast an actor and you really like them and they get along really well with the crew and with the rest of the cast, and we want to bring them back.
Right.
And sometimes sometimes it's not anything more than just we like you and we want to put you back on the
and
show.
it feels force-fed in there.
Yeah, and
it
so
was-
I
it was
felt
kind of
like it was a
repetitive.
little repetitive, a little force-fed. I felt like we got what we needed out of young Martin in the past. Although what it did give an opportunity was for present-day Martin
Yes.
Right.
to have a
School
little bit
himself.
of a well, no, I was actually going
like-
to go with
Okay.
he hasn't seen his wife in
Exactly.
as long
That's what I
yes,
love about it.
yes,
That's
yes,
what I love
yes.
about
and
it.
his
That was really
wife in
sweet.
2016 thinks her husband just disappeared
yeah.
until he returns that time. So to get him an opportunity, and Victor Garber obviously is so good at this, to really be with the younger version. You know, it's like
That was-
imagine
that was really
going back
sweet.
and seeing your
Yes.
parents.
Yeah.
It was
You know,
really
when you
sweet.
were
And
a
then
kid or
him
something
like
that.
letting her know how much her husband loves
Yes.
her. Because I guess my question was like, if her husband loves her so much, and I know that Martin does in the present, why is young Martin such a scrub? Like, why is he like this?
Well, it could be that whole time paradox thing. Maybe
Yeah.
the reason why he loves her so much is because of the events that we just saw the other day.
Right.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting going forward in Legends of Tomorrow, and certainly going forward in the Arrowverse shows with, you know, after the Flashpoint stuff, is to see what does change.
Right.
Because our present timeline, I wonder when the Legends do get together with the Arrow
Yeah.
and the Flash and Supergirl, are they going to realize how their world's changed
Yeah.
from what they've been doing?
I hadn't
Exactly.
even thought of that because I know they mentioned like, oh, it must be an aberration or whatever, but it could literally be because of Flashpoint that happened.
Yeah, look,
Or because of the Legends
Yeah, because of
gallivanting
their own-
and
because of their
messing
own,
up
yeah.
in different time periods.
yeah, well, you know, you were talking about something that was really interesting on the after show. The point you made about the mortality. You know, helping himself take better care of himself to preserve his older self.
Right.
And it's that ripple effect. I mean, and going back to what you two were saying, it's the ultimate 1985 alternate. You know what I mean? We have no idea. When we watched that, again, I'm going crazy here, but when you watched that first Back to the Future and he changed the timeline in Back to the Future Part 2, you had no idea when he came back the condition of Hill Valley. And right now we're watching them interact and we're watching, you know they're jacking up stuff. The Legends of Tomorrow are just like, oh, whoop-de-doo. We're just like, hey, do this.
Well,
and you don't
also-
know the ramifications, and we haven't seen it yet. And I think we're going to get to a point where we do see it all come together.
Yeah.
And we, the audience, them being there from season 1 of these shows, know what was. And we're going to see how even these other shows have been changed and altered because of the, I don't want to say interference, but just, don't we call it something nice, stuff they done did.
Well, and also, I mean, now that we've introduced Reverse Flash as the villain in Legends of Tomorrow, what Reverse Flash is this?
Yes.
Is this
Right.
a Reverse
Exactly.
Flash?
That's
Because it's
literally
not
don't know the
it's-
timeline that
right.
he's
It
coming
cannot
from.
be the Reverse Flash that then became Harrison Wells.
Right.
Right.
But does he still become Harrison Wells because that Flash came back with him at Flashpoint
That's
in the first
exactly
episode
what
of
I'm
the
talking
season?
about. Doesn't it
Yeah.
make you geek
You
out?
know?
I love this.
And
yeah.
then the other
You don't
interesting
know.
thing-
I hope they have a plan for it. I hope they know which I hope they know which
I
one it
would
is.
like to believe they do. I don't know that they do, but I would like to believe they do, and I'm going to continue to believe they do until I'm proved wrong.
I just want to say that, like, even though maybe like young Martin Stein wasn't very necessary, I do think the actor that played him, Graham McComb, I think his name,
Yeah.
I think he was really, really good. Like I
Yes.
think he got the mannerisms down.
Yeah.
and
Which
I
is,
could definitely
I think, why they
see,
brought him
Yeah.
back.
what's the actor's name?
Oh, Victor
Garber.
Garber.
Victor.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
he
agree with
really
that.
did a good mimic. You know, it kind of reminded me of River Phoenix doing Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones movie. It's
Yeah,
like
so
spot
hopefully
on.
if
the
they do
persona, the
find a
mannerisms.
storyline that really does work to bring him back,
Yeah.
then they can do that.
Interesting side story. I was interviewing Katie Lotz last year,
Oh.
and she told me that she was in Vancouver having dinner, and the waiter that was waiting on her said, "Oh, you're on Legends of Tomorrow. I've just been cast as a young Professor Stein. I'm going to be on that show next week." So
That's awesome.
it gives me some, you know, it's nice to
Nice.
hear that they're bringing him back, and maybe he doesn't have to go back to waiting on
Oh, that is,
Vancouver on
that is
Katie
very
Lotz.
cool.
Oh,
That is very cool.
that's so sweet.
Okay, so I don't want to miss a couple of cool little quick points. You know, of course we find out that Dark was doing something with the KGB, gets this little box.
Yes.
Sarah stepping up with the little light fingers. Boom.
Yeah. After she did kind of cause like a
Right.
situation.
Yeah, a
in the
situation.
White
But
House.
how great was Katie Lotz in that scene with Neil
yeah.
McDonough?
Yes.
And
Yes.
basically just saying, this is what's going to happen.
Oh, that was amazing.
in the rest of
I
it. You're
love
never
that,
going to
yeah.
win.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I know that.
Okay.
Now the only problem with that
yes,
is like
say it.
telling him
Yes.
obviously
True,
makes
that's
him
true. Thank
want to stop that
Oh
from
my
happening.
gosh.
That's
right.
what you should not do if you go back in time.
But like,
no.
but in that moment when you're watching that scene, like I think we were
Yeah.
all probably like, yes.
Yeah. Well,
Wait.
the final moment of the show.
The ball.
Right. So
Yes.
this is what I wanted to say, which is in another interesting point,
The time
because
bomb.
we were talking about how we know now that Laurel is going to come back for the Arrow 100th episode, the crossover episode.
Right.
Katie Cassidy is going to be on the show. We don't know in what form. Flashback. We've been told it's not flashbacks, but we don't know. Is it
I mean,
dream
she's getting
sequence?
married. You see those
Yeah,
pictures?
right,
She's
right.
in a wedding dress.
Yes.
But here's my question. If, and follow me, nerds, because this is Time Travel 101. If Neil McDonough, if Damien Dark leaves, let's assume that 1980s timeline is the timeline that leads up to the Arrow series that we've been watching.
Gotcha.
Right.
If Damien Dark leaves that timeline, then is he in the timeline to kill Laurel in 2015?
Oh. So like
true.
literally we could get to the
Yeah.
crossover and it's another
That's
reality.
another reality.
I don't know.
I'm even
I
wondering
don't
if the
know, but it
crossover.
made me think.
I'm even wondering if the crossover is actually going to be in not just our time, but on our Earth. You know, I mean
I think it's the way I understand it. I think it is in the Arrowverse,
Arrowverse?
and not the Supergirl
Supergirl-verse?
parallel.
Okay.
Right.
verse.
Yeah, it's definitely
She comes
Arrowverse,
over from
definitely
that
Arrowverse.
universe to this universe, but I agree.
Yeah.
What does this universe look
Right.
like at that point?
Final point,
Yeah.
what was in the box?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was in the box that
We don't
they
know.
tried to steal?
We
Yeah.
don't know.
What do you guys think? But like, what do you guys think was in
I
the
don't know.
box? Like,
I don't know.
I mean,
no
'cause it looked like a ring box,
It
right?
did, yeah, it looked like-
And
yeah.
Obsidian is Hal Jordan's grandson, right? Or he's a Green
Obsidian
Lantern.
is Alan Scott's
Okay, so
son.
he's a
so
Green
no
Lantern's-
relation to
yeah,
Hal
right,
Jordan, but Alan Scott.
Alan Scott. But
Yeah.
still, it's a Green Lantern.
Yes.
So could it be a ring?
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Interesting.
And we have been told by the producers, I believe, that this Obsidian that was great played as old by Lance Hendrickson.
That was
from,
amazing.
Right, it was great seeing him
From
back.
Well,
Aliens
and I
versus
loved
Back.
him
It was
with
great.
Maya. We
Yes,
didn't talk
right,
about
with
Maya,
Maya.
but
It was
great.
they
It
had
was great.
such great scenes together, and we got to see her
But I
backstory.
think we were told,
Yeah.
not necessarily in the show, but by producers, that this Obsidian is the son
Yes.
of Alan Scott.
Yes.
So
Oh,
there
okay.
could be a connection there. We have seen hints, certainly, I think, what was it, season 3 of Arrow,
Yeah.
that the
and
Coast
even
City
in,
exists
even
and
the
Hal
Coast
Jordan
City
exists. so who
flashbacks
knows?
and flashbacks.
Yeah, so who
hints in
knows?
Flash too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So hopefully,
Well, a lot to think about. We've
Yeah.
got, and moving forward, listen, like I said, CW's crushing it now. I'm ready for next week.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be chatting again with these guys right here and these ladies right here. And listen, and you're watching us, listen, subscribe. Hit us up on all of our social media. Tell everybody about us
Yeah.
because we love talking about this. It's in our DNA.
yeah.
We
And
live-
send us any questions throughout the week if you have like #DCTVU,
Mm-hmm.
or you can comment on the after shows that we do right after each.
And of
episode.
course, the pics we've been showing because you're talented folks, and we want to put your stuff on the air and put it online and let people look at the stuff that you've got going on. Yeah. Well, listen, until next time, until next DCU, here we are, we're the crew, and we will see you, next Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom, CW, Flash is back! Woo!
Right. I just died in your arms.
Tonight.